Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are going through the last couple of setup things we need to do before we get started. Wesley, can you hear me? And if so, is the picture of the menu screen blurry or is it clear? That is an important question. Okay, great. Alright, so on that note, welcome to what is bound to be one of many streams of the original Gungrave. So, this is going to be the entire game from beginning to end, because this game is pretty short, so we should be able to complete the entire thing in one session. This is the first time I've done this game since my original LP in 2013, and that LP has since become one of the biggest videos on my channel, with the first video having like almost 50,000 views, something like that, which may not seem like a lot compared to some people, but for me that's pretty huge. Only a couple of other LPs are even close to that amount. So clearly there's an interest in this game, even if it is a retro nostalgia. And with the third game finally announced, there's going to be a resurgence in interest in the game as well. So we're going to go through it again, and now I'm several years older with a lot more experience and a greater perspective, better commentary. And I've actually test played this game a few more times since that original LP and learned a lot of new things about a lot of new strats. So this is not technically a speedrun because I haven't really routed the game in a way that you could call it a speedrun, but it is going to be my attempt at my fastest run through the game. But in the interest of still giving this game some justice, for those of you who have not seen it before, I will be leaving in all the cutscenes and talking about all the storyline stuff. So without any further ado, let's get this show on the road, shall we? I wanted to do this yesterday, but I had this weird allergy attack this week from the weather changing, with it suddenly going to fall. So I was coughing and my voice didn't sound good, so I'm finally at a point now where I feel like that's been mostly eliminated, but I still have the undeniable issue of having to clear my throat occasionally, so I apologize for that in advance. I know that's the last thing somebody wants to hear when they listen to somebody's commentary. Wow, this city, the amount of detail in it is truly remarkable. A lot of the illustrations that Yasuhiro Naitao drew for this game really showed this really fleshed out dystopian future that is not really seen in the anime. In the anime, it's closer to the grounded reality that the series begins in, and doesn't really have a whole lot to show for itself. Yeah, so as I was saying, the anime just sort of has a realistic modern city with a few changes that were made after the time skip, but it doesn't really go into quite the fantastical dystopia that the game has to offer. I think this type of dystopian city, though, was fully realized in Blood Blockade, though, which is Yasuhiro Naitao's last and most recent work. I love the ambience in these cel-shaded cutscenes. Like, everything just looks so dynamic, all the lighting and everything. Graphics are not the best quality. They were definitely improved a little bit in the sequel. Very ominous, the sounds of the snow crunching under his feet as he walks into this place. So we're going to hit up this, well, I'm assuming it's a club, and it's full of a bunch of members of the Syndicate, or the organization as it's known in the anime. Seizure warning! Now this brings up a question about the continuity right here, because he says, cheers to the new boss, but if we know anything about the anime or about the continuity at large, there's no way that Harry would have recently become the boss of the Millennium Syndicate. Alright, so time to kick some ass and chew bubblegum, and we're dead, so we're not really in the mood to do anything. So first, right off the bat, I'm going to be showcasing a new strategy that I learned since the original LP of this game, and that is you can kind of do like a claw grip on the controller and hold down the sprint button and still be able to move around at higher speeds and target enemies. So you're going to see gameplay that looks almost like Overdose here with how fluent it is. But in reality, I'm just sort of exploiting the game mechanics here, and this is actually a pretty uncomfortable grip on the controller. But we want to go fast since this is a personal best attempt, so I'm going to be exploiting that to the best of my abilities. Every time I see the go notification there that tells me I've fulfilled the objective or killed enough of the enemies to progress, I'm going to be just running towards that objective, whatever it may be. I do have one demolition shot already, which I'm not going to be using. I definitely want to. I should have meleeed those guys, actually. Unfortunately, the melee is one single strike. It's not a series of combos like it is in Overdose, but it still gets the job done. There's a couple of close encounters that I'll want to use that for, but for the most part I'm not going to be taking advantage of it too much. And of course, your rate of fire when you're walking or sprinting is obviously not going to be the same as it would be if you were doing not bullet dance. What is that called? Burst mode. That's what it's called. Yeah. If you were using burst mode, obviously the rate of fire is still going to be faster. But I do like the increased mobility of being able to still lock on to enemies and move around and not have to completely compromise on my rate of fire that way. As you can see, I'm just continuing to move. I'm not stopping for anything here. And I think I'm taking less damage as a result by not stopping to go into burst mode. Ooh, that was some serious lag right there. So up here, there's going to be a couple of large enemies that are going to come out from behind these canisters. We're going to go ahead and put a few shots in those canisters. We're going to do a Max Payne style shoot dodge there in hopes to blow up those canisters. As soon as the large enemies are defeated, we'll get the objective to drop off of the rooftop. There we go. Okay. Sprint, 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 sprint. We can kick open this gate that's been damaged and drop to this back down to the street. Our suspect is fleeing. This is very strange, this path we took to follow him. Obviously, we didn't follow him the correct way. We went to the roof and he went to the street level. But of course, Grave is an RPG protagonist and therefore takes no fall damage. So right here, I'm actually going to bypass a lot of these enemies and go straight for where the target is going to go hide. And then I'm just going to unload my demolition shot into him. There we go. Alright, and that's stage 1 complete. Nice, let's see what time we got. 2 minutes, 16 seconds. Alright. Not too bad. Hello, Jamie. Thank you so much for joining us. Alright, so this is something I didn't really get to show off in the original Let's Play, is the Dr. Tokioka's hideout here. So it's sort of like a little lab, and you can see our coffin is over there on a couple of boxes, which is a bit unrealistic. I feel like it would probably crush those cardboard boxes. We can talk to Mika for a little bit of dialogue. I don't mind her Japanese voice at all. Why are you apologizing to me? We're finally getting what we want. And we can talk to Tokioka a little bit as well. I mean, would they really associate this hulking undead behemoth with Brandon Heat? Like, would they really automatically associate him with that? I guess his gunplay is a little similar. I'm not going to save. I'm actually just going to go... Actually, maybe I should save. So again, this is not on an emulator. This is on the original PS2 version. which I got for $6 at Second and Charles back in 2013 after discovering the anime, and it was the best $6 I've probably ever spent on a game. Yeah, in the anime, when Grave is first sort of completed as a undead, as a what do they call them? As a dead man, as they call them in the game continuity. He sees the picture of the aftermath of the event where he came back and immediately recognizes him. So 10 years later, when Grave is finally resurrected, Harry immediately knows who it is, so he would easily be able to set the Syndicate off on him. I don't remember this stage as much, but I'm going to be just using my the strats that I've learned to kind of go through as quickly as possible. See, that's a good group of guys. I think I want to use Demolition Shot there. The Demolition Shots definitely behave differently in this than they do in Overdose, whereas in Overdose, you can easily capture a lot of enemies in the AoE of the Demolition Shot because the game sort of stops when the animation occurs. As soon as you do the pose to fire it, your animation changes. I cannot deflect rockets back at the enemies in this game like I can in Overdose either. This claw grip is already starting to get a little uncomfortable, so time to take advantage of the fact that this game does not really use the other analog stick very much. Especially when you're holding down the sprint button. When you turn Grave, you'll turn the camera as well. I'm not getting notification to continue yet. There must be a few more enemies I have to kill. Well, this sucks. Nope, doesn't appear to be anything else. I must be missing something. There we go. That guy must not have spawned in correctly or something. We should have unlocked a... whoops, I did not mean to do that. I was going to say, we unlocked a new Demolition Shot going into Stage 2, which I unfortunately just wasted. I was going to use it in this next room, which sucks. Leave it to me to put in a bad input. Yeah, these heavy enemies have this steel girder that they're swinging around, so I definitely have to utilize the shoot dodge to get away from them. Keep going. There we go. Nice. So I don't think I mentioned this too much in the original Gungrave Let's Play, but I did mention it in the announcement video for Gungrave Gore the other day, but it's come to my attention that, and maybe this is just common knowledge for some people, but Red Entertainment was originally supposed to be making a game in 2001 called Trigun: The Planet Gunsmoke. It was going to be a Trigun licensed game. It was a third-person shooter, much like this. But, ooh, I just got the crap beaten out of me there. I may have to use a Demolition Shot later to restore my health, if need be, but this stage doesn't really have a boss, so we might be okay. Come on, go in. But apparently Trigun: The Planet Gunsmoke was cancelled, and this game was made instead because Nightowl lent his artistry and his story writing for this scenario instead, but it was to be a new intellectual property with no ties to an existing anime, as it was until the anime eventually came later. But it does make you wonder what that Trigun game would have been like, because you can't really have a shooter where you're killing people and playing as Vash the Stampede. Like that doesn't really work as well. Getting some major slowdown in here. Yeah, what would that game would have been like? Because I can understand, like, fighting the robot enemies that appear in certain parts of Trigun, or playing as Wolfwood and killing people. Like, I can understand that. But if you're playing as Wolfwood, then, you know, that's... How much content can you give him short of putting him on a massacre, which is kind of... If you look at this game, you do have somebody who, if you look at his weapons, he does play similar to how Wolfwood would play if he was put in a third-person shooter game like this. But yeah, Grave does not have the moral conscience that Vash does, of course, so no problem at all with killing people. Probably would have been better to have used the rocket there. I can't remember what it's called, but I had it already switched over to the bullet dance, which in Overdose you can toggle between the demolition shots at will, which is awesome, but you cannot in this game. Got some doctors here. Maybe they're responsible for making the Orgmen. If they work for the Syndicate, that's likely the case. Thought that guy was going to get too close to me, so I just decided to shoot dodge backwards. Yeah, the slowdown in this game can get pretty bad. Not as, I mean, a lot. Overdose certainly is not nearly as bad, though. Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate. This level I definitely lost a lot of time on, so I'm not sure how great my final time is going to be. Definitely not as good as Stage 1. Stage 1 is just so short. I mean, it's so easy to be able to capture a good time on that. Again, probably would have been better if I used the rocket there, but that was still pretty good. Finished him off with a demolition shot. 6 minutes, not too bad. Alright, now on to Stage 3. So, in the Let's Play, again, I had the first 2 stages as part of one video, and then part 2 was this 3rd stage here. So, the video only ended up being about 5 parts long, pretty short. The final running total being around 90 minutes. Now, Overdose is about 4 times as long as that, ended up being almost 20 parts long. So I guess in the game's continuity, Harry McDowell must have just become the boss recently. So he must have just recently had done something to Big Daddy, which caused the downward spiral with Maria, and which is what caused Mika to go seek Graves' help in the first place. Yeah, in this hallway you can pretty much just keep moving. If you are using that claw grip technique that I talked about, you can just ignore a lot of these guys and keep going. This part on the street can be pretty tricky because you're going to have to deal with a lot of bigger enemies as well as the train cars that are rolling by, the street tram trolley things. But we're in Chinatown, which at least looks aesthetically pretty cool. Most of the environments in this game look aesthetically pretty cool, even if the quality of the graphics doesn't really get a chance to showcase that. these bigger enemies have got rocket launchers. Okay, awesome. I was able to avoid getting hit by any of those rail cars. Got 3 big enemies coming up here. Really can't stand in place for too long because some of these guys have the giant machete-looking things. Yeah, melee enemies are always annoying in this game. Another guy with a rocket launcher back there. It's almost like I've trained myself to get used to the being able to reflect the rockets back at the enemies and overdose. So now I have to kind of remind myself in this game you can't do that, you just have to avoid them. Which is... I mean, can you imagine the damage we could do if we could reflect rockets back? As soon as this wave of enemies is defeated, we should be able to go through the door. I think I unlocked another new demolition shot. Okay. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Good timing there. I think we're going to go ahead and use our demolition shot here. There's a butcher's coming at us with a butcher knife in here, which is kind of strange. We are I guess we are in his shop, or in like one of those food court cafeteria type places. Even if you guys ever been to an Asian market or something like that, they a lot of times have restaurants within the grocery stores. There's one that's pretty awesome that's close to me. You can find pretty much anything you never asked for over there. Another thing I caught myself doing in the original Let's Play that I've learned to counteract since then is once you lock onto a target, you can toggle targets with the other analog stick. Or can you? Maybe that's only an overdose. All I know is I saw myself kind of just settling on the target that I locked onto, even if it wasn't the one that I wanted to destroy at that time. So maybe that was a feature that was implemented in Overdose, where there's another demolition shot here. Anything left? Nobody left standing. I think more enemies still have to spawn in, though, because we don't have that... Oh, there we go. I haven't really taken a direct hit from a rocket yet, only because I've been moving so fast on my feet. We don't have to kill you, we can just keep going. Alright, so here's going to be our first appearance of actual Orgmen, which, again, were staples in the anime. Interestingly enough, in the anime Blood Blockade, in the very first episode, when the main character, who is a normal human, essentially surrounded by weird creatures in the Hellsalem's Lot City, encounters a random alien-looking creature that shoots projectiles in his general direction. That actually is an Orgmen from Gungrave, the exact same design and everything. Taking a lot of damage from these guys. I may die here. Yep, they got me. That's what you get for trying to go fast. If I kill them a little bit... If I go a little bit slower and actually allow my shields to regenerate, I won't have to worry about that, but I was, of course, trying to go fast, so... These guys can deal a lot of damage to you very quick, and they're also quite fast. The guys with the briefcases that are loaded weapon racks, those guys, they definitely have a lot for you to worry about. They have machine guns in the suitcases and everything. Wait for my shield to regenerate. Shield regenerates pretty generously in this game. Okay. Lost a little bit of time there because of the death, but nothing too bad. Alright, now for the random bulldozer that comes out of nowhere. I know, our machine guns won't work, so we'll just simply have to run him over with the giant bulldozer that's as big as this bridge. Jesus Christ. So we're going to do an about face and just start running. And that's about all we can do. There's no way to really manipulate this or go any faster. I turned around quickly enough, so we should be in the green here. I may be strong, but I'm not fast. I also think this is really cool that the Millennium Syndicate is having their party on this like double Zeppelin barge thing. You can't have a party without me. So I mentioned in the LP how these guys are really aggravating because they jump around all over the place and land in seemingly random places. They don't seem to have a pattern from what I can tell. So I kind of just have to pay attention to where they're going, and I'm able to see them pretty well. So I don't think there'll be too much to worry about. That guy just came off the balcony up there. Yeah, as long as I keep my camera at an angle where I can see where they're going in the air, it shouldn't be too much to worry about. I'm not going to use my demolition shot right now because I'm saving that for Bob. The first Millennium boss, the first of the big five, because his fight is coming up pretty soon. Right, where'd he go? There's always one that gets away. Never mind, I did get him. There he is. After 10 years. Cocky bastard. Ladies and gentlemen, the Big Five. Harry McDowell, Bob Poundmax, Balladbird Lee, Bunji Kukashira, and Bear Walken. They are the whole reason we walk this earth. He's like, yeah, we should probably go. We'll let Bob handle this. Alright, I'm going to adjust my demolition shots. Let's get Hellhound Roar in here. That's the upgrade to the rocket that has 3 rockets. So we will go ahead and use that. By using the demolition shot there when we did, we were able to avoid the damage from that grenade that Bob threw at us. Bob's first storm is pretty easy. Unfortunately, he is surrounded by a squad of Orgmen that do make it a little bit more difficult, but if I can knock him out, then we'll just move on to the second phase of the fight. See, they all just drop dead as soon as he does. Eat that, fatty. Jamie's correcting me, 13 years. She's probably right. I don't know if it's a specified amount of time in the anime. It must be. It's definitely not a specified time in the game. At least not in the first game. So, the same power that was used to create the Orgmen was now used on living people to create what they refer to in the anime as the Superiors, which is what the Big Five, except for Harry McDowell himself, and Bunji actually have done to themselves. So they all have these ridiculous forms that they take. So all of these bosses are going to be 2 stages. So Bob has this ridiculous fat helicopter thing that he transforms into, and trust me, if you think these things are over the top now, well, they are. They're actually way more over the top here than they are in the anime. I think we managed to get... Yeah, we did. We managed to get 1 good hit on him, so we're just going to use burst mode while he is stunned. Wow, that's a lot of good damage. Almost got him now. Almost got him. He shouldn't even be able to get another attack in. And we got him. Nice. Wow, that was a pretty good fight. Okay, that's a good point. Jamie is recollecting my memory here. So Mika's 13 years old, and she wasn't born yet when Grave died, obviously. So it has to be 13 years. So that's a very good point. Because then 4 more years pass, but from then until overdose, which makes Mika 17, as she exclaims at the beginning of overdose. We're gonna go ahead and save again. All of these movements in the menus, for some reason, you can only do with the analog stick. It's really strange. So because Graves' body has essentially been, you know, resurrected from the dead, he's not truly alive. He's running on finite resources that kind of keep his body functioning and intact. So, such as he can't generate new blood, he doesn't have, I'm sure he doesn't have working organs. So he goes through these regular blood exchanges, not even transfusions. Like, he straight up has entirely new blood put in him in order to stay active in service. So, and of course, as soon as we are incapacitated to do that, disaster strikes. Somehow they found Tokioka's hideout. Would like that very much. Okay, so now on to stage 4, which is the subway. So now we have to go after these goons that have kidnapped Mika, and they're going to... Something similar to this does actually happen in the anime regarding Graves' fight against Balber Lee, which is the next member of the big fight we have to follow and fight. Interesting. I guess I can't actually go that way. I'm just trying to go fast. I'm not actually thinking about killing all these enemies. I actually managed to blow up that barrel there, and it's clearly stunned me, but it didn't kill me, which was weird. There we go. Okay. So, Jamie, have you seen Blood Blockade yet? I think that is a very appropriate question, because we may have talked about this, and I just forgot about it in my sick, drunken stupor. But Blood Blockade is fantastic. It has its second season is just recently aired, which I've only watched like the first 3 episodes of the second season. This is a weird enemy type right here. These larger enemies are like weird bunny mascot guys that have weapons in the bunny head itself that's on their arm. It's really strange. The nice thing is, too, is the upgraded demolition shots don't cost any more demolition shots than the standard ones to cast, so there's literally no drawback in using them. Not too much room for us to get out of the way of that rocket. I mean, what kind of idiot would use a rocket launcher indoors, right? We would never do that. Yeah, I just watched I think I'm on like the 4th episode of Season 2 of Blood Blockade. I'm still planning to do the Yasuhiro Naito series retrospective, in which I'll talk about all of his works, Trigun, Gungrave, and Blood Blockade. But the thing about Blood Blockade that I will say, at least in this video, is... Oh, dear God. We're gonna get rid of you guys with 1 rocket for each of you. Is this indoors? I think it is. Whatever, it doesn't apply to us. The one thing I'll say about Blood Blockade is that while the overarching story may not be very clear, even in the second season, the individual storylines are really, really entertaining. trying to look over at the chat. So you have it in your Crunchyroll queue, I suppose. We're going to use burst mode here because I want to get rid of these barrels. I don't want to get blown up by them later. And that's just video game logic. You see a barrel, you shoot the barrel. And typically it gives you good results if it doesn't end up killing you later. You can actually see the gradual damage to the barrel being done by how much it flames as well, so you can kind of stay away from it knowing that. Random guy with a katana just coming at me. Of course, we're just going to ignore him. More Orgmen with their briefcase machine gun looking things. Yeah, there's lots of other Night Tower references in Blood Blockade in addition to just the Orgman that was in there. There was the cat from Trigun obviously shows up in it because who could have seen that coming? And then I think there's like little figurines of Marilyn Millies somewhere in a scene. I can't remember where they were or why, but they were absolutely there. In the episode I just watched, Leo goes and he ends up getting pushed into an alleyway to get away from this monstrous creature that's marching through the streets. And in doing so, he runs into a couple of thugs who beat him up and take his money, which he was planning to save for his next visit with Michaela. So as a result of that, he's like, well, crap, I have to go pick a fight with these guys and get my money back from them. So he says, well, I could always just use my eye power and predict every move that they make and just beat them up that way. But he has such a bad association with the eye power that he just refuses to do it. So he's like, maybe I can find some other way. So he goes to a weapon store, and instead of buying a weapon that can actually kill them, he buys this, I'm going to use burst mode here, buys this stun baton, and he tries to go pick a fight with the goons again in this bar, and of course they hand him his ass again, and he loses the stun baton. Meanwhile, Chain is in there and challenges the goon to a drinking contest, which she promptly wins, and it's hilarious, and just the antics in this series, it's like it's almost like a sitcom you can take seriously in a way, because it has the sitcom-style storytelling of the storylines that overlap each other. There was a subplot with Zap, and he was like sleeping with this girl, and her cat went missing, and so she threatened to like do unspeakable things to him if he didn't get the cat back, and that plot line ends up tying in with what Leo is doing. I'm actually going to use my other demolition shot here to replenish my health. There we go. I think that barrel managed to blow him up. And we blew our way through the queue lines. What's sad is that this is supposed to be like a... Well, this is the subway, I guess. Subway is really run down. And also, there's the last enemy. I hate it when that happens in this game. If I had this run really routed, like a proper speed run, I would know exactly how many enemies were there, so I would never miss something. Or if I did, I would at least have an idea where to go to look for it. Because the encounters in this game are not random. Like, you have the same groups of enemies every time, so you can predict what's going to happen. That's a good point. Jamie's also saying that on Crunchyroll, Blood Blockade does not clarify. I accidentally skipped a cutscene there as well. It doesn't clarify which season is 1 and which season is 2, because they refer to Season 2 as Blood Blockade, Battlefront, and Beyond, instead of Blood Blockade, Battlefront Season 2. So now for the train scene, because every action game has to have a train scene, right? Which does make things a little bit aggravating. So there is a... oh, hell. There is a helicopter outside. Well, actually, there's not a helicopter yet. There is random Orgmen riding missiles like they're... I don't even know how to describe this. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Look at the size of this thing. Like, that's got to be like a nuclear warhead or something. And they're just riding it like they're... like it's a horse or something. But this is where we're going to catch up with... Dalibur, Lee, and Mika. I remember Michelle told me when she watched this LP, she cracked up laughing when Lee threw Mika out of the window, and I was like, "Wait, what the fuck are you talking about?" And I had to go back and watch it again, and you'll see it in a few moments. It's pretty hilarious. So I'm going to use burst mode here to indiscriminately target the missile because it's hard to get a exact angle out of the window, and if I'm using burst mode, then I'm going to have a faster rate of fire and damage output. I'm just going to use Hellhound Roar here. Again, inside a train, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. There's the helicopter, okay. And unfortunately I used my demolition shots, which kind of sucks. Maybe if I can keep moving, then I won't get hit by these rockets as much. The little blue arrow lets you know that it's where it's going, so you can manage to keep avoiding it. It did go the other side. I was kind of confused there for a second. We're targeting its little turret on the front. We also have the missile launchers on the side, which I don't think that's how missile launchers work, but, I mean, yeah, heat-seeking I get, but, like, you're not going to seek from... Like, you're not going to fire out forward and then... Alright, burst mode. Okay, we can just... I think we defeated it. We can just move forward now. I think you know the answer to that. Bye. Just tosses her out of the window indiscriminately. Well, she probably died from that. Hell, we probably died from that. Again. Ah, we're okay. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is Ballard Lee. Definitely does not look like he did a minute ago, right? Look who's got Mika, though. That's an interesting detail you almost don't notice at first. Alright. Time for the second boss fight against the next Millennium Inner Circle Big Five member, Ballard Lee. So, this fight is pretty tricky only because we're up close. But again, if I maintain my speed with the claw grip mechanic that I talked about, where I'm continuing to use the sprint feature while locked onto him, I can continue to keep the damage output on him. Now, would you believe me if I said that this is the one character where his game version is not as ridiculous as his anime version? Because, oh my god, his anime version. It is ridiculous. Oh, I was hoping we weren't going to get hit by that. Okay, we got him. Oh, he doesn't have a second form. Huh. That was a pretty quick kill then. Alright, we got the second to last demolition shot there, the Raging Inferno. Actually, it might be the last demolition shot. That is the upgrade to the machine gun where we spin around in a circle and blow up everything in an AoE around us. I don't care that it looks ridiculous. Graves' motorcycle is badass. I want to see this thing come back in the third game. This is the Public Safety Division. Do not have a permit to carry a coffin full of heavy weapons on your motorcycle like that. Please pull over. Oh dear God! And that's it. The motorcycle was never used again. It's not even behind us. Alright, time for stage 5, which is, of course, the sewer level, because every game must have a sewer level. And this was back before that was even a cliche. Actually, I think it's really always been a cliche. Hell, even NES games had sewer levels. So interestingly enough, the enemies we're fighting in this stage are not members of the organization or random street thugs. These guys are actual military. I'm assuming they're the police force in the city, which, of course, because of the organization, they all work for Harry McDowell anyway, so that's probably the only reason why they want to kill us, not because we're actually doing anything illegal. As I say, as we carry around a bunch of heavy weapons and attempt to kill everything. For some reason we can't get through that door yet. Come on. There we go. Okay. It didn't give me the go arrow, so I didn't think to follow it. The crazy taxi arrow, as it's known. So this is where the game's draw distance really starts to suffer, because we can't see beyond the darkness there, so we're not able to really see enemies up ahead. We get notifications that they're there, but we can't really do much about them. So between the first stage and now, enemies are getting a lot tougher. There's not as many instances where I can just simply run up and melee a whole group of enemies and finish all of them off. I mean, it works on those small enemies there, but the bigger enemies take a lot more punishment now. So, of course, we got these guys on these floating security turret-looking things. Kind of reminds me of those random floating sentries in Final Fantasy VI that the Empire had. So if we can get out of the sewer and get back up to the top, we should be approaching Bear Walken's mansion pretty soon. His penthouse. Whoops! That's never happened before. Oh my god! I didn't even know that was possible. That sucks. Well, that just lost me a ton of time having to come all the way back up here. It wouldn't be a, again, I'm not going to say this is even a speedrun because I haven't really routed this game, it's just a PB attempt, but oh my god, that it wouldn't be a speedrun or a personal best attempt without a that's never happened before moment. Between stages as well, you'll notice that there's a couple of different sound effects that Graves' guns can potentially make, and it varies depending on where you are in the stage. Sometimes they'll make one sound effect, and sometimes they'll make a different sound effect. I don't know if that's a mistake, if that's like a programming bug, or if one of the sound effects is meant for indoors and one's meant for outdoors, like when there's more room for the sound to echo, because that would be true if, you know, actual gunfire would sound different depending on the ambience of the room and how far there is for the sound to travel. But I mean, eventually it just gets to a point, especially if you're indoors, where it's so loud you can't even tell the difference. So, which is not the ideal way to be. In fact, I actually thought about this in the case of Gungrave, how like literally everybody in this show would have hearing damage, especially Grave, because he fought with weapons his whole life. And then by the time he finally dies, I don't know how his hearing actually functions as a dead man. Maybe it doesn't function like a normal human being. But like he's firing these things which have got to be at least like 45 long Colt or 50 caliber cartridges, and he's firing them every couple of seconds. Everybody would be deaf in this universe. But I guess you could say that for a lot of action game protagonists. Like there's no way after a single firefight that Max Payne would not be laid out for a solid month. Because that's one of the things you got to consider with gunshot wounds in general, is how long they actually take to heal. Now, okay, we're gonna use the Raging Inferno now. Now is the time to use it, ladies and gentlemen. Get rid of all these guys and their shields. But it makes me think about, like, Mika and how she's able to handle all this gunfire without really having been exposed to it before. Managed to not kill that guy up on the balcony there, which frustrates me. Oh, lovely, the auto-scroller, because every run has to have an auto-scroller, so there's nothing really we can do to advance this except for kill the enemies as fast as possible when they appear. We cannot, we're just on the long haul up this elevator, so as soon as those enemies come down, we have to kill them. And eventually we'll come to a point where we have more of those flying drones around us too, so... as soon as we can kill these guys, the better. There we go. So now we have that open air going on. You can actually see a good view of the city now. What do elevators remind me of? That was a pretty funny moment at, I think it was AWA last year, where I was complaining about the how crowded the elevators were, and Michelle was like, I don't like elevators. She always, like, seizes up when we're in an elevator together. She's like, oh, don't worry, my character dies in an elevator. Referring to myself, cosplaying Grave at the time. How is this other elevator able to move at different speeds than our own? That would be extremely dangerous, and how would they even manipulate that? It was clearly all your fault, random drone guys who are eating my frame rate for breakfast. Oh dear God, the lag. Let's just do this. Did that actually kill any of them? It didn't get any of them. Wow. The lag is too real, guys. Too real. Okay, we should be almost at the top now. The enemy variety in this game is definitely a lot less than in Overdose. That's another thing they had to amp up to the nth degree in Overdose is the enemy variety, so we don't have any of those really big bruiser machine-type enemies from the from Overdose we had to deal with in the final couple of stages of that game, because those guys were just ridiculous and took forever to kill. Alright. Now that horrible sequence is over. We got out of the sewers, and we're coming up to Bear Walken's penthouse. Bear Walken's fight might be my favorite in the anime. I mean, the emotional weight is definitely there. Like, holy shit. Well, you just destroyed your whole dojo. I don't know if that was part of your plan or not. So, there is a part of Bear Walken's fight that I'm pretty worried about, and it's in his second phase, where... oh, I have never had this happen before. Wow. That kind of sucked. I am probably not going to survive this. Wow, that's literally never happened. His corpse is on fire. Jesus Christ. That's never happened before. Someone in the chat asked if I can melee the missiles. You can in Overdose, you cannot in this game. So you can deflect them back at the enemy from whence they came in the second game. You cannot do that here. Anyway, so there's a part of this that I'm worried about in the second form where you'll see what he turns into, and he can essentially just literally steamroll me over like he's freaking Dio or something. But it's almost impossible to avoid it, but there's a certain way if you keep enough distance from him where you can manipulate his AI to not be ridiculous like that. He has quite a variety of weapons here, and as you can see, that big spark that occurs there is when I've eliminated one of his arms. And once I've eliminated that arm, he no longer has access to that attack. Bear Walken as a character is also amazing, because in the anime, he's somebody that meets Brandon and Harry at a very young age. He was a very influential member in Big Daddy's Inner Circle, and he was sort of a mentor-like figure to Brandon and Harry, and he was always incredibly smart and incredibly skilled, so he kind of pinpointed that Harry was up to no good right from the beginning, and that the only reason why he went along with all of Harry's shenanigans in the long run is because he knew that he did it just to remain loyal to Big Daddy in the end. Alright, so this is where I'm a little bit worried. So when he throws the debris like that, I can pretty easily dodge that, but he has another attack where he will, as you can see, he has that giant wheel, and he'll steamroll up to us like that. And sometimes he won't roll backwards like that, sometimes he'll keep going, and I think some of that has to do as well with how much health he has. So I may switch back over to Hellhound Roar just to do a little bit more damage. Okay, so far so good. We're getting some good damage in on him. I just have to watch for when he does that attack, because if he gets you caught within its range, it's very difficult to get outside of that range. But I think our additional speed from me using the whole claw grip technique is also helping, because I'm able to side strafe out of the way faster than I could if I was not using that mechanic. So one thing I realized I haven't done is I haven't been doing this for speed purposes, and so I don't get copyright claim on the video, but I haven't done any of the graveyard finishes against any of the bosses yet, so I may do that here with Bear Walken, just so to demonstrate what they look like, because each one is a little bit better than the next, and then finally at the end, the final one that you can do includes animations from all of them, leading to the ultimate graveyard finish, which is a feature they took out of Overdose. Which I missed them to an extent, but overall it's not too bad. Alright, let's finish him! Overall, that was a really good fight. I can't complain. I didn't get locked in his attack like I thought I would. That's pretty badass. Now on to the final stage. Now this is where it gets really hard. So right at the beginning of stage 6 here, of course we have to confront Bunji, who again, Bunji was our close friend and sort of our rival within the organization. He was part of our fire team, and when Grave passed away, he sort of took over Grave's group of hitmen. So he was sort of our almost like our equal. Not quite as good as us, our rival in our shadow, and given the ability to take us on. There's a church buried under here. That's kind of strange. Alright, so the fight against him is really, really tough. Now, he actually, I'm definitely going to save, he, believe it or not, he is not a superior in this. Now, he does become a dead man, spoiler, for Overdose, and we do fight him again in Overdose. But, yeah, this fight is a hardcore Gradius. So, we have to... There's very little we can do to manipulate this. We just kind of have to make hard reads. So, basically, he has an attack where he can kick us into the air and just air juggle us. He actually does it in the anime, too, which is pretty badass. But basically what we have to do is lower his health down quickly enough, and then finish him off with a graveyard finish before he gets a chance to use that attack on us. And if we can do that... Okay, serious time. so he can recover a little bit as well. Yes, we got him. Oh, okay. Not as fast as I would like, but at least we didn't get air juggled by his attack. I made that look a lot easier than it really is. Woo! Wow. Yeah, the fight with him in the anime is probably one of the most badass like action set pieces in the entire anime, because he kicks Grave into the air like that and air juggles him, and then he ends up with one of Grave's guns in his hand and Grave has the other, and they're I don't think they're both empty, but what Grave reloads his own, and so he's basically just like, alright, checkmate. And then Bunji's like, alright, well played, friend, well played. So it's really it's a great visual storytelling moment too, where you understand perfectly the psychological implications of what they're doing, because they're basically just like, okay, I know your moves, you know my moves. It's basically a game of chess at this point. It's brilliant. It's up there with like the fight with Vash and Knives and Trigun, which is a very similar gunfight where they're sort of just trying to outpace each other because they know what each other's capable of. I love those type of rival showdown fights like that. And now for some plot. I'm going to use this time to crack my knuckles and rest my fingers for a second, because man, does this claw grip make you sore. And while this dialogue is technically true for how Harry does believe, in the anime it's framed a little bit more innocently, because you understand where he comes, where Harry comes from in life, and you understand like his background. And so in the anime he always says, I want freedom, I want the power to give what I want and take what I want, and you see that as more of an innocent thing, because he oh, I finally understand what that fucking spiderweb looking thing is on Maria's dress too. That's actually the shadow of the window frame. But in here he's just like, I just want power, I want to be able to give and take, and you don't see it as anything other than maniacal, when it is in a way, but you don't understand that he kind of lived a low life for a while, and he kind of earned his place in society up until this point when he finally betrays Brandon. Brandon must have been so offended that Harry would suggest he take Maria by force, or that he would betray Big Daddy to have Maria to himself. But you almost kind of wonder if there was some deep down desire in Brandon to actually do that. Because Harry must know that Brandon would want that in a perfect world, that he would want to have all the power to give and take, and to have Maria as well. So he's sort of provoking something that he knows is in Brandon, but Brandon of course rejects it and does the morally correct thing, and it costs him his life, as we know. If you guys want to see that scene without the commentary, you guys can watch the Let's Play. I made sure not to talk over the cutscenes too much in the Let's Play. I also had some commentary kind of through the perspective of Grave, adding little quotes here and there. Okay, so we're on to the final stage, which is the tower. So this stage is interesting. It's not terribly hard at first. We have these weird mob spawner things that spawn in Orkmen, and so there's this whole other angle in the anime in the game that's not really talked about in the anime because it's just too stupid to really even go into, and that's the whole like alien angle. So how do I say this? It's not that there's aliens, but there's aliens. So this is expounded and made to make a lot more sense in the sequel when they talk about seed and how it came from a alien organism, essentially. So you have these spawners, these weird egg sac things, and they spawn a couple different types of enemies. There's airborne enemies, there's ground enemies that have sickles. There's ground enemies that have rocket launchers like this guy. So this type of enemy right here is seen in the anime, and he's also... Whoops! He's also in Blood Blockade. The problem with the lock-on mechanic that I've been abusing is the fact that I'm not always in control of where I'm going necessarily because I'm too busy looking at the enemy. So I've walked off of some stuff in this run that I haven't done in previous runs. So I just got to be more careful going forward. So all of these enemies all these like alien enemies that spawn out of these things are bullet sponges. They're considered the large enemy type. And I'm actually getting my ass kicked by these guys with the sides. Should probably pay attention and finish them off. These guys behave similarly to the Orgmen with the machine gun briefcase things in terms of the damage output from their little machine gun things. They look like mosquitoes, but instead of having stingers, they have machine guns, which is weird. See if I can out-melee these guys. You guys may have arm size, but I have a coffin, and I'm not afraid to use it. I realized I didn't also set up a proper timer before doing this too, so I'll have to figure that out in post. But pretty much, I could say the duration of the stream up until the moment that time comes is going to be the time, because obviously this is going to be using real-world time and not in-game time. Whoa, crap. That was very dangerously close to knock me off the edge. So the last enemy type that these things will spawn is incredibly dangerous. It actually has like these four-armed guys with a shotgun in each arm, which is really strange, and they can deal a lot of damage to you. We have a little bit more room to move around up here. We're getting really high up in the sky, so I don't know if you guys have noticed it in the establishing shot at the very beginning of the game, but the game pans down from the sky view to the city below, and the city is just absolutely tiny compared to the massive size of this building. This building is impossibly tall, so clearly it's alien technology, and it was not built by the Millennium Organization, because no like mafia group, hell, no government in the world has a building this large. And if you just look at the architecture of it and all the weird stuff, clearly it has to be... Come on, target the egg sack thing. I'm tired of this. Almost had it. That could have gone much worse. Luckily there was a lower ledge there. One thing I don't like about burst mode is not being able to target the, there we go. Not being able to target those things manually. Music up here is very strange and ominous. Any more enemies? Yeah, two more mosquito-looking guys. I definitely need to think about a way to route this particular part of the level, because this is definitely way more time consuming than it needs to be. I just got hit by something. And I can't lock on to them for some reason. Maybe they're meant to be above me. Oh, nice. He got knocked back on their ass. Alright, let's take out this last egg sack looking thing. Where the hell do these guys even come from? Man, he can take a beating too. Apparently so can I. I'm very low in health. I'm going to use the other demolition shot. Perfect timing, I didn't even get hit. Some of these flying enemies managed to avoid that. Yeah, this last level is kind of a clusterfuck of where are the enemies, where do I go, how do I know how many of them are left? Burst mode is definitely a good way to replenish your demolition shots, because you accumulate them really fast when you have a high combo chain like that. Okay, we're almost to the end. There's the thing from the title screen. Great! So, instead of killing the boss in this continuity, he turned him into a giant alien monstrosity thing. So now we have to fight the Big Daddy, which, Big Daddy as he's known, and he has a plethora of different attacks, including the flamethrower. He's got machine guns in his fingers, and I just got incinerated there. Big surprise. Yeah, I pretty much knew I would have to do at least one refight against the boss, because I was low on health, and low on demolition shots, so now I have 2 demolition shots going into this, and he's taking some pretty good damage right away. I should be able to avoid the flamethrower and the machine gun fingers with my increased speed from the lock-on. He does have that punch, which takes out your shields almost immediately, because I should be able to get out of the way of that pretty easily. Nice thing is your shields regenerate in this game while you're still attacking, which is really nice. I guess that's something that they took out in Overdose for balancing reasons. I think I will go ahead and use Hellhound Roar now. A little bit extra damage. Alright, lost one of his arms, so he's stunned for a moment, which allows me to get some extra damage in, and... Hell yeah! Sorry, boss. You deserve a good rest after this. Holy hell! So remember when Harry said, "I found something to allow me to control everything"? This is what he was talking about. So this is the alien head. This is the final boss, and it is the thing that Harry discovered that allow him to... so this is essentially the origin of Seed, of all the technology that Harry has in this game's continuity. So essentially what we have to do here, I don't think that did any damage actually. We have to keep shoot dodging backwards and targeting each of its eyes, and we're slowly doing more and more damage to him. Eventually he'll do this attack where he tries to suck us in like that, which can deal a lot of damage. We can still hit his eye when he's doing that, so keep locked onto his eye, and eventually when you deal enough damage, his eye will break, and then we'll have to target a different one. So there's a few, that's basically the different phases of this fight. It's actually not extremely difficult. Occasionally you'll see he'll lob like an eye out from his mouth or something like that to deal damage to us, but if we act quickly enough we should be able to replenish our shields in time. But this battle is all about movement and staying quick on your feet. Now of course using the claw grip mechanic as well helps out with this fight, because I'm able to kind of move a little bit more freely while still being locked onto him, which is something that the inherent lock-on mechanic does not allow you to do. Alright, if I get another demolition shot, I'm actually gonna, oops, get defeated. I was gonna say get, replenish my health. Alright, let's try that again. So you could call this cheating, but in the interest of a speed run, I won't, because you can die and still continue, and it still counts towards your final total. But the fact that when we die, we get additional demolition shots does help us out quite a bit here. He'll use that attack where he'll vomit like random projectiles out of his mouth that explode. When you see the laser come out of his eyes and start scanning, you'll be able to kind of predict when he's going to launch the eye projectile at you. So you can kind of anticipate that. See how I dodged to the side there? I was able to see when he was getting ready to do that. You can also shoot the projectiles coming out of his mouth, as you saw me do there. There we go. Okay, we did actually counteract his attack where he was trying to suck us in with the mouth on top of his head. Alright, 2 eyes down, 2 to go. If I have to, I'll use the demolition shot to replenish my health. Last eye. Alright, now we should have the center eye to attack. Alright, we got him. That's not time, though. Time will be when we kill Harry McDowell. Now for the ultimate graveyard finisher, which has basically all of the animations put together. It doesn't really cohesively like make sense what he's doing, but it's just like, hey, here's the most badass animation we can come up with. In Overdose, though, there's a unique animation for finishing off basically the two most important bosses in the game, which are, it's not even a graveyard finisher, it's just a special cutscene that plays, but it's pretty badass. Alright, time is coming up when we shoot Harry McDowell. And time. Really curious as to what's happening here. Like, does the huge skyscraper that Harry lived on with the alien thing, would it block out the sun? Like, was it that big? I do enjoy this song. It actually has a great feeling of ambience when played on the little radio like that. And they ride off into the sunset together. Beautiful. Alright, thank you guys so much for joining me for this stream of Gungrave. So, again, this is probably one of many streams I'll do where I basically just try my personal best timing of the game. I'm pretty sure that was my fastest attempt, but I'll have to kind of tally up all the individual times together. I think it'll actually give me the time at the end. So special thanks to my friend Jamie, special thanks to Wesley, special thanks to Karasunagi, I think is how you pronounce that, the other person who's joined me in the chat. Thank you so much for watching and participating in the discussion. I really do appreciate that. This series, of course, is one of my favorites. Basically everything that Yasuhiro Naitao puts his name on is something that I really, really enjoy, and I'm definitely looking forward to talking about his other works in more detail. So I will probably stream the other two routes of Overdose as well, not for a personal best attempt, but just to show off Juji and Rockabilly, because that's something I've been talking about since I did the Gungrave Overdose Let's Play in 2016. So I definitely appreciate this series and how doing that simple little Let's Play on a whim has made videos that have gotten like tens of thousands of views and are still getting comments to this day that I really, really do appreciate. And I'm glad to see that with the announcement of Gungrave Gore that there is an interest in this series starting to be shown again, because I actually said back in my 1000th video celebration, I said, somebody asked me a question in the Q&A. They said, what were some games you'd want to see get a sequel to that don't have one? And I mentioned I would love to get a Gungrave 3, but I know we'll never get it. I mean, we're just getting that VR game, but now we're getting the VR game and an actual third game in the series. So I also mentioned Rage 2, and Rage 2 is actually happening as well, so it looks like I've, interestingly enough, predicted these sequels to these games that didn't ask for them or didn't think they were deserved of one by their developers and publishers. So we'll just have to see. I'll just have to cross my fingers for Vanquish 2 then, because that's probably going to happen in a matter of time then. So, once again, thank you guys so much for joining me for this. If you guys are interested in seeing more shenanigans, definitely join me for my stream of Mobile Suit Gundam Federation vs. Zeon coming up pretty soon. And, of course, my runs of through Yu-Gi-Oh! Millennium Duels as well. Let's see what our final results were. So we got the Marauder ranking for our total score here. The only thing we got an A on was our game time, of course. Does it show us our final game time? I wonder how hard it would be if I did on the hardest difficulty. That would definitely be something to try. Alright, the best time, 49 minutes. Okay, that's pretty good. So, that's gonna be that'll be my PB for right now, so. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching.